Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Today, we're talking about how to build an A-player team. I'm going to share with you some actual tools, and I'm going to share with you some AI accelerator prompts that will help you your way through what I'm teaching you today. So you'll get it all, and I'm going to pick one of my AI playbooks, one of my playbooks and tool that we'll actually share with you as a gift as well. Okay. Here we go. So, what are we here for? How to build an A-player team. Now, let's start by what is an A-player? Let's give you a definition. An A-player is someone who is high on productivity in the role they're in, or the role that you're looking to employ them in, and they're high on living the values of your business. So high on productivity in the role that they're in or would go to join, high on the values of your business at a price that you can afford. Okay. The last bit is something just to keep in mind. We're not the Commonwealth Bank here hiring a senior vice president at $1 million a year. So we need to be realistic about the type of person or the amount of money you can afford. So the goal is to get the right people in the right seats, doing the right things, so your business can run without you. Okay? Right people, right seats, doing the right things, so your business can run without you. What that means is that you as founder or CEO can actually take a holiday. Not a week, a proper holiday. Or at some stage you may decide that you want to step back, focus on what you're really passionate about. One of my clients I've just seen is on the line. He's stepping into the CEO role at the business he's been with for a long period of time. There's lots of options here. By the end of today, you'll know exactly how to build a team that delivers without you. So who's it for? This is for you if you're a founder or a CEO, probably 10 to 50 plus staff, turning over 1 million upwards, looking to crack to $10 million plus, where you're still the bottleneck, where your best people are carrying the team, and you're looking to either scale up the business or make it exit ready. It's not for you, to be really honest, if you're a startup or solo operator, if you're not ready to hold people accountable and you're looking for theory and not practical tools. Just up front, so you know the room you're in. So what I'd like to do is just do a temperature check. Can you drop your number into the chat below? On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that every key seat in your business is filled by an A-player who can run his or her part without you? Number 1, number 10, every seat runs without you. There's no right or wrong answer. Could you just be honest and chuck it in the chat? Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that feedback. So there's certainly room for improvement everywhere. So just wondering if this sounds familiar. I'm the only one who cares as much as I do. Every decision still comes back to me. I keep having to redo their work. I've got good people, but they don't step up. My best people are carrying the weak ones. If I took 30 days off, this place would fall over. Sound familiar? Yeah, hand raise, a couple of smirks there. And don't feel as though, you're the only one. These things are, every founder I talk to is feeling this. So some misconceptions, stories that keep you stuck. I just need to hire better people. The problem is, A-players are looking at the same broken structure and leave. It's rarely a people problem first. It's normally a structure problem. Second myth, nobody can do it like me. And I got to tell you, that's absolutely me. And until, and particularly in this business now, it's a much smaller business than I've run in the past. Run businesses, hundreds of people over multiple continents. Much easier when you've got a very large team that you can delegate to. I'm very lucky. I've got, for instance, my EA who's on the call today. I give her the topic, I give her the IP, but all of the stuff that's gone on to invite you and get you here and to follow up and send you the pack, etc. I've just delegated all of that. Building a structure and get the right people. So the issue here is, have you actually built the seat, built the role, given it the clarity, built the rhythm to help the person actually perform in their role? Third myth, A players are too expensive. I've got to tell you, they are more expensive than the average hire, but the cost of missed hires and B players who are carried for years cost you far more. And finally, they'll step up eventually. Yeah, they won't. Without clear ownership and a rhythm, eventually never arrives. 6 months from now, same story. Sound familiar? Yeah, lots of nodding heads again. So the compounding effect. That story, I built this business for freedom, and now it owns me, and I can't get away. Every decision roots back through one person, it's you. A players get frustrated carrying B and C players, and they leave. The main reason A players leave is because you put up with B and C players. And the issue that comes for you as a leader, we spend far too much time trying to lift C players, which is impossible. And we neglect the really strong people in our business, being the A players. The same year repeats 3 times in a row. And the thing is, the bigger the business gets, the worse your life gets, and the thinner the margins. So what's really going on? I'd argue that it's structural, not personal. No one clearly owns the outcome. So everything roots through you. It looks like a people problem, but it's actually an ownership gap. There's no operating system, no operating rhythm. The accountability is you chasing people. Without a rhythm, follow-up depends on your memory. And I got to tell you, I had a client the other day, new client just coming into the system, and he's had to take out a loan to pay off the ATO. Because of a C player in the finance role some years ago, they were late paying the ATO. The ATO put them on a payment plan because it was all on the CEO's head. They missed one of the payments, and the ATO said, you need to pay the whole lot now. And he's had to go and take a loan out for it. It's all in his head. The system isn't there. And finally, the roles were never defined. A players can't run a seat that isn't drawn. Talent with no clarity looks like underperformance. So once again, as I say, I reckon it's structural, not personal. I also believe that you're closer than you think. Imagine if every one of your direct reports was an A player, high on productivity in their role, high on living your values. Putting in place a 90-minute rhythm every week, it's extraordinary how you can keep the whole team accountable with a couple of very simple tools. The key is putting a delegation system in place so that you can step out of the day-to-day and back into building the business. One of my clients on Tuesday I have a weekly office hours where I'm at my desk for an hour and my clients can dial in. And one of my clients said, was sitting the first time he's ever attended, he's been a client for a couple of years. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, I've finally got the leadership team in place. There's no part-timers left on the leadership team. And therefore I've moved my leadership team meetings to Monday, and I can attend this and spend the day at home thinking on the business. Thinking on the business. He's grown revenue by about $10 million in the last 2 years. I'll talk you through that later on. The game here is to build more capacity, more accountability, and more freedom for you than you've had in years. Okay, who am I? Very briefly, 25 years in the CEO chair, 5 different businesses. I've coached 250 plus CEOs like you, interviewed more than 130 to understand what drives them and drives their business and the lessons learned. We built out an IP system consisting of 120 plus tools, 90 plus AI accelerators, and 60 playbooks. What I'm going to introduce you today is one of those playbooks. So I suppose my point is the businesses that scale past $10 million, they don't have better people necessarily. They build the seats, build the clarity, and build the rhythm that lets good people thrive as A players. So it's about structure again. So where does this sit? As I mentioned, 60 plus playbooks. There are three key pillars to my IP. One is the clarity and plan and accountability. Second is building the team culture and the like, and mapping that to the strategy. And the third is a whole series of playbooks and tools on how to scale and build your business. We're in the team build piece, and this is the pillar that gets the right people doing the right jobs. So that's sort of an overview of where we are. Today's agenda, 3 pillars of an A-player team. Right people, how do we get the right A players in the right seats, make it crystal clear who owns what and what only you should do. And then the right rhythm that makes accountability structural, not personal. It's a complete system that you can start building this week, and we're going to start on that today. So pillar 1, the right people. I'd argue that your business rises or falls on who's in the seats. A players raise the standard of everybody around them. B players coast and quietly reset the bar lower. C players cost you your A players. And that's where, unfortunately, most CEOs spend their time. Hiring and upgrading is a system, not a gut feel. So you don't raise your goals, you fall to the level of your team. So if you're not performing, we went through the chat a bit earlier about where we are, 5, 7, 7, 4.5, 5, 5, 7. Even the high scorers there at 7, Scott and Mitch, I think you were the highest scorers, you've still got a minimum 25% uplift. Yeah. So it's, even though you're scoring relatively high, there is so much of an uplift you can do. So the belief shift. Hiring A players, the perception, I understand why, is that they're expensive. The reality is mishires are the expensive ones. An A player in the right seat pays for themselves tenfold. A mishire carried for a year is a real cost, not only to your growth, but then having to replace and all the costs involved. In the playbook, I've got a section on research on how much it actually costs, and you'll be astounded how much the cost actually is. So what we're going to do now is actually do some work. So the A-Player Scorecard. One of the key thought leaders I use in my business is a guy called Brad Smart. Brad Smart set up a business called Top Grading a long time ago now. I'm in Barrel and it's currently -2 degrees. So if I'm sneezing, I apologize. Brad Smart was the people guru when Jack Welch was running General Electric in the halcyon days. Brilliant. He was one that set up the GE University. He set up with Jack the concept of if we weren't in one of the top 2 businesses in our sector, we're going to sell the business. And that was all about getting the right people doing the right things. He came up with this concept of a top grading scorecard. So I should say, he wrote a book called Top Grading, Brad Smart, fabulous book. His son wrote a book called Who, WHO, and his name is Jeff Smart. To understand this piece, grab the book Who by Jeff Smart and have a read of it. It'll give you an overview of a lot of the people IP that I use. So what is A-Player Scorecard? What it does, it defines what success in the seat actually looks like before you interview someone. The key point here is you can't spot an A player for a role you haven't defined. It has 4 key sections. Firstly, the mission of the seed. In here, I've got one line. It's actually probably 2 sentences. What's the mission of the role? A business development manager. What's the mission of the business development manager? Your operations manager. What is the actual mission? Your mission, for that matter. What are the 3 to 5 key outcomes, KPIs, measurable KPIs, that you can measure for the role? What are the competencies that matter? And do they fit with your values? That's an absolute non-negotiable. So you hire against a scorecard. You measure against a scorecard. If you don't have a good feeling in the room, you don't hire. A values fit or a lack of values fit is a veto, not a nice to have. Guaranteed, when it all turns to crap, it'll be because the person has different values to you in your business. I want you to open your AI of choice. ChatGPT, Gemini, I use Claude. And I want you to paste this into your AI. This is a shortened prompt. In the actual playbook we're going to give you, there's a much longer prompt that will give you a much better result. But I just wanted to experiment with this in the room today. So act as an expert panel. So when I design prompts, the first thing I do is identify who are the experts. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, guys. I have a panel of advisors, a virtual panel of advisors who advise me on different, through AI, advise me on different aspects of my life and my business. As an example, I'm doing a renovation. I've got 3 quotes in. They were all different, and I got Claude to start by identifying 3 expert property quantity surveyors in Australia, 1 in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales where I live, and using those experts, I got them to analyse the quotes. So in this case, act as an expert panel, Jeff Smart, the author of who I mentioned, Brad Smart, top grading, and me. I'm hiring for a role, whatever the role, pick a role in my $2 to $10 million plus business. Help me build an A-Player Scorecard for this seat. So you've got a panel of experts, you've got what you're hiring for. Interview me 1 question at a time. That's a critical one. Don't just let it go off. Interview me 1 question at a time about what this seat must achieve. Then propose a 1-line mission, 3 to 5 measurable outcomes, the key competencies and the values fit for screen. Then give me 5 interview questions that reveal whether a candidate can actually hit those outcomes. What I'd like to do, I'm going to take 6 minutes. I want you to have a play with your AI. Anybody have any questions? Okay, go. Excellent. Now, the fun part of that is I gave you a much simplified version. In the actual playbook is a much more detailed version, which includes uploading some IP. That's one piece that's not included in the prompt I gave you. So the IP is, the actual playbook, the chapter of the book, an example tool, an example play scorecard actually completed, plus a lot of work that you will have done as part of the program to get there. So it's a very simplified thing, and the fact that it's asking you lots of questions already, I think it's fabulous. But you can see already how this would make a difference to your current people, but also the people you hire. Okay, as I said, we're going to send you, and I'm going to gift you the full-on playbook and tool and worked examples for the top grading scorecard. So that'll come to all of you afterwards. Okay. Okay, so I know you didn't have time to complete that, but I wanted to get you started. Also in the playbook is a second prompt, which is all about, bear with me, is all about a quarterly talent review. As part of the quarterly rhythm I work with my clients, one of the things we look at is a talent assessment and a talent planning, as in training, etc., for your team. So there's a second detailed prompt in the playbook about the talent review against KPIs, that's the next step. It's not a one-off. Okay, so moving on, how do we upgrade the team you currently have? The first thing is we need to understand and diagnose the cause. If you've got a problem with one of your team members not performing, firstly, is it a skill? Do they have a skill problem? Do we need to train them? Secondly, is it a will problem? You know, they won't do it. Is it an effort or motivational gap to confront? And one of my clients on the call here today knows that one really, and unfortunately led to an exit of a very senior member of staff recently. And then finally, is it a fit problem? Are they in the wrong seat or do they have the wrong values? That leads to a move or exit decision. So I've got a nice tool. We diagnose, is it a skill problem? Is it a will problem? Is it a fit problem? We come up with a 90-day plan with clear expectations and KPIs, coach and review weekly and remove obstacles. And then after 90 days, that's when we look at the fork. Are they on track and growing, or do we need a clean exit and replace with an A-player? This is an ongoing thing, guys. It doesn't stop. And these are hard conversations. And a lot of the time, founders and CEOs avoid them because they're inherently nice people. But we need to have the tough conversations. So as I said in the playbook, there is in fact a second piece, which is the quarterly talent assessment. So pillar 2 is the right seats. Most teams that when I first start with, they have no clear owner for anything. And the issue is when everybody owns it, no one owns it. So it lands on you. Overlapping roles create friction and lots of drop balls. What you find with A players is what they want is to have a seat they can fully own to perform. And it's that clarity of ownership which makes accountability possible. It's the KPIs you identify in the scorecard, the mission of the role in the scorecard, that allows you to focus your team and hold them accountable. And there's no way you can hold someone accountable for something they were never clearly given. Let me tell you a story. I did some work. One of my clients has grown significantly over the last couple of years. And it came down to a piece of strategy. And you made the comment about lots of questions. Wait until I introduce you to the 3-year winning moves piece of work. So this client, when he did the winning move, so each winning move will either double your profit or double your revenue within 3 years. Big strategy piece. So when he did the analysis using the playbook and using the AI accelerator and the tools, he identified that the biggest win that he could get for the business in the next 3 years was to free up his sales team to go hunting. So his sales team up until that time were focused on generating marketing leads, generating sales leads, going and doing the sale, and then onboarding clients and fulfilling. And they spent most of the time on the first and the last and very little in the center. So that led to a reorganization, hiring an onboarding manager. This is a company that provides physical equipment and significant training on that equipment. Anyway, by doing that, I find still, I'm shaking my head with a big smile, $10+ million extra revenue in 2 years, purely by focusing freeing up his sales team. Steve Jobs said, strategy is all about working out what not to do, doing less. And I totally agree with him. And that was exactly the case for this client I was talking about. But if you can't hold someone accountable for something that they were never clearly, sorry, you can't hold someone accountable for something they were never clearly given. So where does this take us? If people know what they own and are held to it, it leads to clarity, clear roles, priorities, and how success is measured. And that leads to results, predictable growth, and the outcomes you want. So I would argue the foundation is results are built, not wished for. And that's a clear example of my client I just spoke to you about. So tool number 3 is the accountability chart. So I'm just looking at the time. Not an organizational chart of who manages who. It's a map of who owns what outcomes. Every seat links into the 3-year plan and the numbers it's responsible for. So as an example, the CEO, what are you responsible for? I would argue that every CEO founder is responsible for 4 things. First and foremost is setting the vision and the strategy, and then talking about it until you're blue in the face, and then talk about it some more. To your people, to your co-founders, to your shareholders, to your bank, everybody that'll listen. The second thing is having the right people in the right seats, doing the right things with an execution element around it to map their success. The third piece is having enough cash to pay for things. And fourthly, building an executable system, executable processes and SOPs that replicate success. They're the 4 things a CEO does. Yeah, accountability, sales, revenue and pipeline, operations, delivery and client satisfaction. I mean, this is simplified, but the head of sales in your business should have responsibility for a line item in your P&L called revenue. They're the ones who are driving it. Normally, when you're scaling your business, it's probably you, but that's okay. Whoever owns what piece of the business is responsible for line items in the P&L and balance sheet. By the way, when you start doing this, you scare the crap out of your team initially, and then that's when you identify the A-players. The accountability chart, what it does, it exposes the gaps fast. Empty seats, people wearing too many hats, that's normally you. That's where the execution breaks down. And that's where your next hire goes. So not in this presentation, I've got another playbook and tools, etc., that focuses on what your future org chart looks like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now, and focuses on when, and that mapped against your strategy, and focuses on when you can actually afford to hire the A player. So it gives you that strategy for hiring going forward. One of the things within your business, and remember guys, I'm sending you this presentation. And if you want more, come back to me and ask. I'm very happy to share my IP and playbooks, etc. One of the key things is your top right. So where do you and all your team members have the most impact? For every leader, including you, what are the 3 to 5 things the company counts on you for? Now find them high impact and only you can do. Everything else you should be looking at delegating, automating, or eliminating. Anything that doesn't fit in that 3 to 5 things in the top right should be delegated, automated, or eliminated. If you're stuck firefighting, you'll always feel underwater. Surprisingly enough, I have a playbook for this. Sorry, sounding smug. Good point though. All of this stuff, I've been trying to codify my IP now for years and years. But Claude came around in December, and as my clients know, I use Claude to codify all my IP, which is resulting in some of the things you're seeing now. Could never have done it before. I delegated with me actively involved with the brain and my experience to build these 64 plus playbooks, etc. Okay, I'm not going to get you to do this because I'm aware of our time. Once again, another prompt. This is how you map ownership across your team. Once again, you're going to get this presentation so you can copy it. But act as an expert panel. Once again, I've given you 3 people. Vern Harnish has been my mentor for many years. I was a certified scaling up coach many years ago. And Gino Wickman, who designed Traction and EOS, we were actually scaling up coaches together as well. And I've adopted elements of his IP. So act as a panel. My business turns over revenue and number of staff in these functions, and lists the functions. Help me build an accountability chart that maps who owns which outcomes, not the hierarchy. Interview me one question at a time again, and then propose the seats, the 3 to 5 outcomes each seat owns, and each seat's top right. The 3 to 5 things you should do. Flag any empty seats, overloaded people. Tell me what my next hire should go, where my next hire should go. Once again, guys, it's a very simplified prompt. In the playbook there, it's much more detailed. But you can see immediately this starts to map out what your business should look like, who's responsible for what the top right is, and all of this. All my playbooks supersede that. But it helps you identify the KPIs for the job scorecard. It helps you identify where the gaps in the business are. It helps you identify the priority of hiring. It helps you work out what to give away and when. Phenomenal tool. Okay, so we've got the individual playbook. The individual scorecard with KPIs and mission and competencies. We have the quarterly coaching cadence and how do we improve our people, or how do we make a decision as to whether they're the right people on the team. We have the functional accountability chart we just looked at, which is identifying the leadership team, what they should be doing, what their top right is, what the KPIs are, where the gaps in your leadership team is, and where you should be looking to hire next. And as part of the full-on prompt, it tells you about the revenue, what revenue you need to hire this function. So the next thing is building an executable system around this, the right rhythm, the right accountability system to hold everybody accountable. There's that old theory. If you don't check it, nothing gets checked. Nothing gets done. If you don't follow up, nothing gets followed up. The business needs you to function, and there is the founder trap. If we build the right rhythm for you, with the right accountability systems, the right KPIs looked at every week in a CEO dashboard, the right OKRs, objectives and key results to map what's happening within your business over the next quarter, the right issues list and prioritize the issues and working out what to work on next, and then a to-do list. If you have all of that and you look at it every week, we get rid of the founder's trap. And the founder's trap is you're stuck in your business and you're stuck working it and you don't have time to think on it. Notice I'm talking about a weekly rhythm. I'm not talking about monthly. The problem with a monthly rhythm is if you look at the numbers at the end of the month, you're already so far behind, and trying to catch up and trying to reverse course becomes harder. If you're looking at it weekly, you can jiggle things and fix things quickly. The key thing here is we're talking about making accountability something the system does, not something you have to do, or not something you have to be. Remember my story about my client who missed the ATO payment? This has got to be wrapped into your accountability rhythm. So I have an agenda for the weekly leadership team. 90 minutes a week to keep the whole team aligned and accountable. At a high level, we celebrate headlines and wins, personal and business and customer. Next, we report. We look at our KPI scorecard, CEO dashboard. We look at our 90-day priorities. We're looking at data. We're not looking at feelings. And I have a separate presentation on the CEO dashboard. So if you want to go and have a look at my YouTube channel, or I'll be running one in 2 weeks' time. This is all about locking in accountability. Once we've looked at all of this, review. We review the issues list in front of the company and solve the biggest barriers one at a time. Solve the biggest barriers one at a time. It's a really interesting point. If you solve one major company issue or one barrier every week, every week, you're now 52 issues ahead of your competition. Think that through for a bit. One every week, you're 52 ahead of your competition. And then we track to-dos, clear owner, due next week, percent complete, and score the meeting. No number, no meeting. What the rhythm does is create focus and accountability, not endless discussion. Everything I coach, is based on a traffic light system, red, yellow, green. We don't need to talk about the green. If it's on track, that's great. We're looking at red and yellow. And your job is to turn red to yellow and yellow to green. That's the role of the CEO, turn red to yellow to green. Red is, we have a major problem and we don't have a plan. Yellow is, we have a problem and a bit of a plan. Green is, we're all on track and it's hunky-dory. So your job is to turn red to yellow and yellow to green. So I'm doing a hell of a lot of talking. I'm almost done. And this is once again about picking the right numbers. Leading versus lagging and the floor. So lagging, revenue, profit, churn. What already has happened? Easy to measure, hard to change. Leading is pipeline, calls, booked, check-ins, predicts the future, harder to measure, easy to change. So put that in perspective. A salesman, his lagging KPI is revenue. His leading KPI is number of real live calls he did with an ideal client profile client every week. Real live calls, not an email, not a text message, a real live call with someone who fits your ideal client profile, customer profile. How many of those he or she did a week? If he does or she does the right number of calls, guess what? It will lead to revenue. If it doesn't lead to revenue, you've got a problem. You've got to coach the salesperson how to close the sale. And one thing, a sales coach that I work with a lot and introduce to my clients, Steve introduced me to, was a thing called BAMs, bare ass minimums. These are minimum standards you expect of your people. Not the goal, the minimum standard. So there's two things. We're looking for arguably a stretch goal, but we're also looking for them to have bare ass minimums. And this is the number of calls as an example in the case of the salesman. Okay. Once again, guys, we're going to give you this workbook so you're going to get all these prompts. Pillar 3 AI prompt. This is how you set your team's KPIs. Acted as an expert panel. Notice the expert panels change because I'm building expert panels based on the expertise of the person. Yeah, I have leaders in these functions, list, sales, marketing, delivery, etc. For each, recommend 1 to 2 KPIs that the leader owns and reports weekly. Measurable, leading where possible, tied to scaling from $2 to $10 million plus business. Interview me 1 question at a time about each leader's scope, then propose each KPI with a leading lagging label, a weekly target range, a BAM, the minimum floor, and a clear owner. In the playbooks, again, guys, there are much more detailed prompts, but this one alone will kick you ahead enormously. Okay, I just want to do a check-in for you. And I'd like you to put into the chat on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 to 6. Now, isn't that interesting how my AI that helped me build this presentation buggered that up? Anyway, I want you to, in your mind, answer these questions. Does every role in your business have a clear owner and who owns what? Do your leaders consistently hit their KPIs? Do you run a weekly leadership meeting with a set agenda? Are underperformers coached or moved on quickly? Note on quickly. Does the team know the 3 to 5 priorities for the company for this quarter? Is there a scorecard the team reviews every week? Can you put where you reckon you fit? 6 of these in place in your business? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2.5. If you think about what I presented today, it's actually quite simple. 1 yes, 2 yes, 3 not really, more 1-to-1. Excellent. Thank you. Like, just by implementing these 6 things, it sounds simple, but there's obviously a lot more to do, but it will improve your business and business performance enormously. So the mindset I'm looking for you here is move from firefighter to builder. Remember, your job isn't necessarily to do the work, it's to build the team that does the work. Now, I know you can't all afford to go and buy a new team today, full team. But part of the plan here is to help you decide who's next, what function is next, to start building out, executing on your strategy. But please remember that your job isn't to do the work, it's to build the team that does the work. One of the joys in my business is that I talk about a concept called unique ability. A unique ability is what you're really good at and what you love doing. Just in case you haven't worked it out, putting this stuff together and presenting it is obviously something I love doing, and I think I'm reasonably good at. My clients who are on a call, I love coaching my clients, and I think I'm pretty good at it, and it's my unique ability. Putting the IP together, I love doing. I think it's, I love doing, I'm pretty good at it. Building the AI agents that I'm now building, I love doing and I'm pretty good at it. All the admin, I'm going to call it crap, I'm crap at. Like I'm not interested in. I have a bookkeeper, I have an accountant, I have a lawyer, I have a team of assistants around me that does all the stuff that I don't like. And they're much better at it than I am. So I want you to think about the unique ability. What are you good at? And what do you love doing? One of my clients on the call, I had some people issues that he's worked through, and he stepped up big time into a sales role, a business development role, and potentially we'll know, I think this week, he in the space of about 2 months, we think he's going to land a whale client. I'm so proud of him because he's focusing on his unique ability. As he said to me not long ago, no one else can do this. Like no one else can do it in Australia or arguably globally, but he hasn't been doing it for the last 5 years. And suddenly he stepped in and, it looks as though he may have landed a whale. That's by focusing on unique ability. Well done, you. So let's just talk about a couple of examples. A recently graduated client. When he started with 6 million in revenue. When they graduated in February, 24 million. SaaS business, they've been with me, as I said, with me for 4+ years. The problem at 3 million, at the $3 to $6 million is that the owner was involved in every decision. There was no clear ownership or documented systems. And the founder, or one of the 2 founders, was carrying the whole team. At the 24 million, which he was going to sell, but he's decided he's not, he loves it so much. He's got A-Players owning every key seat. The business now runs independently and leaders are accountable to their own numbers. The really interesting part is that the leadership team changed 3 times in that 4 years. Because one of the things about scaling business, guys, is you'll find that a number of your people are not up to scaling. So one of the hard decisions in here is at times you'll either, and my client who was talking about the business, 2 business development people, freeing them up. What he's done, he's just reformed his leadership team, and he used to have a number of part-timers on that leadership team. They are no longer on the leadership team. They're active in the business and successful in the business, but he couldn't operate at the size he's at now without a fully formed leadership team. So what this client here did, he didn't just grow the business. He built a team that grew the business without him and has now allowed him to step into a new growth role, which is what he loves doing. Another example is a reasonably new client who grew revenue from 50K in 3.5 months. It's not bad. And the reason was there was no ownership in the team, no rhythm, decisions were made on a gut feel, and he turned around, increased his revenue enormously just by getting focused and putting the rhythm in place, giving people responsibility. So, recapping. Again, my goal was to finish the presentation at 12 and open up for questions, and I'm 12:01, so I'm pretty good today. What we've covered: right people, scorecard hiring, and upgrade the teams you have. In the right seats, the accountability chart at every leader's top right. So the right people in the right seats, doing the right things, and help and assist and hold them accountable, which is the right rhythm. You'll be amazed what happens if you implement these. So in your own mind, score yourself now. Do you hire against the written scorecard? Is there a clear owner for every seat? Do you run a weekly leadership rhythm? Do your leaders own their numbers? Do you deal with underperformance quickly? We already know the high level numbers on that, and there's huge room for improvement and, and teaching your people. And I think the key message I want to leave you with, you've got two choices. You can just ignore this and do nothing different. Keep carrying the team, keep being the bottleneck, keep hoping they'll step up. Another year passes, same story. Or you can decide deliberately, take what you built today and the lessons out of this, draw the seats, set the numbers, start the rhythm, build a team that runs without you or that can run without you. And I ask you to start this week. If you leave it to next week or the week after, I'll give an example, lots of numbers on that scorecard, complete that piece of work and start rolling it out. And then the other pieces of work. With the AI, as I said, we'll send you the scorecard, the full-on playbook and tools, worked examples, and the AI. It accelerates this thinking enormously. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, this is just part of a bigger picture. I've shown you two of the playbooks at a very high level. There's 65 of them. I believe in what goes around comes around. So if you have any questions, if you want more information, more of the IP, I'm very happy to share it with you. Just reach out and ask. This is not a high pressure thing. If you'd like to explore this a bit further, I'd love to offer you a complimentary game plan session, 30 minutes, where we can map out a growth plan for your business, pinpoint the one constraint holding you back, give you a 90-day actionable plan. Yeah, I'd like to offer that to you. It is totally up to you to take it up if you wish. As I said, it's complimentary, but very happy to give you the time.